and gentlemen, and welcome to my presentation. My name is Gustavo Rodriguez, and the topic of my presentation for today is what inspired authors of modern literary period. The reason that this topic can be useful is because it opens your eyes to the effects of what happens when you become inspired. I will be explaining three things that influence our American writers, and they are: first, I'll introduce some authors of modern period. Second, I will go over some of the famous works of these authors. And finally, I will choose a character from the time period to discuss attributes that characterize them a hero. I want to start off by summarizing the literary period of the modern times, which occurred between 1901 and 1950, which at that time writers were very much reflected on Darwin's ideal of relativity. It was also a time when one's social status was important. Writers looked inside themselves for inspiration and rethought their personal relationship to society and the social institutions that they were exposed to. Now let's look at some of the well-known authors of this time period. We have F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, T.S. Eliot, John Steinbeck, and Richard Wright. Some of F. Scott Fitzgerald's famous works include The Great Gatsby, The Love of the Last Tycoon, The Side of Paradise, Flappers and Philosophers, Tales of the Jazz Age, and The Beautiful and Damned. We move on to Ernest Hemingway, known for The Indian Cap, The Sun Also Rises, A Farewell to Arms, The Short, Happy Life of Francis Macumber, For Whom the Bells Tolls, and the most famous, The Old Man and the Sea. Then we have Richard Wright. He wrote Uncle Tom's Children, The Man Who Was Almost the Man, Native Son, The Outsider, and Black Boy. And last but not least, John Steinbeck, who wrote The Pearl, Of Mice and Men, The Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden, In Dubious Battle, and Travels with Charlie. Now let's look at the historical period. During this time period was rapid. Technology advanced at a very accelerated rate. And some of the inventions that included during this time period were the air conditioner, which was invented in 1902. Then Ford came out with the first T model in 1908. Stainless steel was invented in 1916. The atom was first split in 1919. The first portable radio was invented in 1922. The television was invented in 1926. The discovery of Pluto was made in 1930, and the atomic bomb was built in 1945. Other major events that influenced writers during that time were the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 through 1905, the Revolutionary War in Russia in 1905, World War I, 1916 through 1920, World War II, 1939 through 1945, and major events that greatly also affected our country and others were the Great Depression and the expansion of the Soviet industry. Now let's go over literary heroes. In John Steinbeck, The Pearl, Kino was the main character. Kino was the husband of Juana and the father of Coyotito. In this novel, he was a protagonist as well as a hero. Kino's son was stung by a scorpion and was in dire need of medical assistance. So some of the attributes that characterized Kino as a hero was, he was a man of action. He was willing to do anything to save his son. He dove into the ocean to find an oyster that could possibly contain a pearl that would help pay for the doctor's services. In doing so, he found a majestic pearl called the Pearl of the World. He was a resourceful and skilled individual. He was skilled at diving as well as a skilled swimmer. When he was diving for pearls, he was able to hold his breath for a long time. He was also strong-willed and mind and was very courageous. And in conclusion, in this presentation, my objective was to demonstrate the historical events that influenced writers of the modern period, and so therefore created amazing literary works. The three main points that I covered were the topic in question of my presentation, which was the influences during the literary period of the modern times, the historical period and events that influenced the authors, and last, the literary works of John Steinbeck and Kino, who was the main character and hero of the story. Are there any questions?
No.
Well, thank you so much, and have a great day.